This is a Film Stories original podcast.
We made this.
Hello guys, and welcome to the X-Cast. The truth is in here. I am popping up for a very special episode. Your host, Tony Black, joined by your usual co-hosts, the venerable Kurt North and Sarah Blair, to discuss... Venerable? Who uses that word? But I just have.
You. Only you,
yeah, me.
Tony.
Just me. To discuss a very special event that took place on July the 30th, which was Doggett and Reyes, a.k.a. Robert Patrick and Annabeth Gish, back together again, having a chat in front of all the fans, and moderated by the one and only Frank Spotnitz. So, guys, this was great, wasn't it? This was a really fun event.
It was great fun. It was so casual. I liked that it was just a friendly chat between three people who had enjoyed working together so much.
Yeah, you wouldn't get that anywhere else in any other form, really. And that's what I really took from it. As I say, the warmth of it, but also the fact that, you know, it was them three of them just kind of reminiscing and just having moments where, like, saying, "Oh, I can't remember what was that episode again?" And, you know, me vehemently kind of typing on the computer going, "It's via negativa, it's via negativa." So stuff like that. But it was great, as I say, from what Sarah was saying there, just the general kind of feeling of the way, and you wouldn't get that anywhere else. And I think that was just wonderfully played for having Frank Spotnitz in that position.
You guys see each other still. You still see each other at cons occasionally.
Yes, we do.
I don't think I've seen you in 20 years.
I haven't seen you, Frank, since the last time we had dinner.
That's crazy.
And I know it was after the X-Files ended, and it was before I think you moved abroad.
Yeah.
I miss you, Frank.
I miss you too. I'm so grateful.
Come back over the pond here.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to come see you both.
So this was organised by The Companion, thecompanion.app, which is a really good website who have been putting out all kinds of really good X-Files content lately. And they put this together, essentially, to get Frank Spotnitz to moderate this conversation with the two actors who've I think the general gist we got was that they haven't really all seen each other like this for 20 years, really, which is, it's I suppose it is a bit of an anniversary, unofficial sort of anniversary of the when they both finished on the X-Files, because the truth would have come out, May 2002 or something like that. So it has been literally 20 years since we saw Doggett and Reyes on screen together, which is mad.
It is. But I know Robert Patrick and Annabeth, they do the conventions together, so they still get to, see each other relatively frequently, but not with Frank. So that was really special.
Yeah. No, it was. And I think the fact that they managed to pull this together and do it is something that I think a lot of fans... from the impression I got was that they wanted really to celebrate Doggett and Reyes as characters with the X-Files, because they are quite unheralded, really, aren't they? For obvious reasons, because you've got Mulder and Scully, who are the iconic characters. But I think I just felt it was just really nice to spend an hour and a half or so just talking about these two, as opposed to Mulder and Scully, just as a change. That was really good.
Season 8 itself, it freshened up.
Yeah.
It felt fresh. It felt nice to actually see a partnership, which is the second partnership in the show. So yeah, I really enjoyed it for that in that regard, because it was just just getting an idea, or even just having contemplating what they were like on set and things like that. And there is a bit of a slight difference in that, Robert Patrick came first. So there's a bit of a difference in the way that they both came to the show. But at the same time, it was just wonderful for listening to the stuff that they got up to, and kind of like just it felt like it came through the screen, and I was enthralled. It was great.
Yeah, and just being able to hear them reminisce about things. I know Annabeth had told that story about, it wasn't even on set, but she mentioned that there was a big traffic jam or something, and she was Robert Patrick was behind her, and they were just parked on the freeway, and he actually got out of his car to check on her to make sure she was all right and doing okay, and just those kinds of bonding experiences that may or may not have happened either on set or off set, or, you know, and how those kinds of interactions informed the characters, and you don't get to hear those stories like that. And it was really, really fascinating and interesting to get to see and listen to that.
It was complicated at the beginning because nobody knew what was happening, and it's a little tender. But then, you know, again, like, you realize when you just start to, like, take a breath and realize that there's no threat. I think, Robert, you and I both, neither one of us came in with, like, egos or attitudes of, like, we knew exactly how to be diplomatic and politic and sincerely. And Jillian and I, we became friends, and I'm so grateful because, you know, she's a real, I got to spend some good time, and still, like, you know, our kids are the same ages, and we've seen each other a few times with them. And so I'm grateful for the evolution, the continuing evolution of how families keep going in different iterations, you know?
I mean, did you guys pick up on any particular nuggets or stories that maybe they hadn't told before, or we hadn't, because they talked a bit about, didn't they, about how they came onto the show, and some of that felt quite familiar. You know, Robert Patrick was talking about how he auditioned and there were other people there, other actors, some of whose names I think have been on the record as we know about, and he didn't want to give any, which is fair enough, but you know, there were stories like that which I think were quite familiar. And
I think he mentioned something about the network having to switch around Kelsey Grammer. I don't think I've heard that before. No, I don't think so. Not like switching, like Kelsey Grammer was going to be John Doggett, but as in like sort of I mean, that would be. I mean, he's calling again. At the end of the day. But no, it was something to do with the availability of Robert Patrick, and there was something to do with Kelsey Grammer within the network that kind of made that Fox thing happen. So that's the way I took it.
Huh.
What vibe did you get from both of them then, from Robert and Annabeth? I mean, Sarah, you got to know Annabeth a little bit as one of the Gishies, you know, and she's been on the podcast a couple of times.
Yeah.
And you know, you've spoken to her other than that and things like this. So what impression did you get of how they felt about doing this?
It just seemed like she was having so much fun and just being able to chill out with some good friends. I mean, she's so chill anyway, and so easygoing and lovely and wonderful. But yeah, it was nice because it had kind of that vibe of just some good friends getting together for a beer and just, you know how you always want to just be on a fly on the wall. It's just, you know, I always feel like I just want to hear these stories and just get to sit and listen to these people just talk about their experiences. And that's really the vibe it had, just these good friends and actors getting together and just talking and enjoying each other's company. And I loved getting to hear about Frank getting to direct them as a director. He said a few times that he had really enjoyed directing and that he was really happy that he got to direct with them and how easy they were to work with. And just listening to them kind of discuss about their process and how they interacted together was a highlight, I thought. It was.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to the kind of the way that this recording went, and because it is live, you get these things, and it's got nothing to do with anything in a lot of ways, but just little comments where, like, sort of, Robert would be going, "Do you remember that? What was happening there?"
Yeah.
But even little things like they were talking about a PA who was on the X-Files who went on to do something else. And they were like, "What? There were a PA in the X-Files?"
Barry.
And I was like, "Oh, right,
Yeah.
okay." Just those moments where it's natural human kind of conversation rather than actually being the scripted. Oh, this is going to happen, and we've said this for 15 years at Comic Cons and all that kind of thing. Just hearing those things, like, oh, I don't remember being a PA. Frank, do you remember him? No, I don't. And you're thinking, poor PA. I can't remember who it was, but poor PA,
It was Bill Hader because he's in Barry now.
Barry.
And then Annabeth got to work with him. And when she was working with him on that show, he had mentioned that he was a PA. So that's so fun. And it's amazing because the X-Files really does reach so far and wide, and it's really fun to have those little nuggets uncovered.
Yeah. The one I didn't know about, which you probably both knew, was that Annabeth's husband, I believe it's her husband now, she met him on the set of The Truth or in the X-Files. Season 9? I can't quite remember what she said, whether it was while they were shooting The Truth. The picture they showed, I think, was while they were shooting The Truth.
It was, yeah.
But I didn't know that. I had no idea about that. That was a really lovely thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably common knowledge, and I'm just probably way behind.
Yeah, but
Do you know what I mean?
again,
Like,
the human nature element of it, though, with Robert going, I introduced you, and Frank's going, no, you didn't. It's like, no, you didn't. Yeah. No, I did.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he was like, okay, maybe I didn't know that. I didn't know this. Okay, that's fine. Those little moments were great.
I think Frank's level of knowledge still and lore is amazing. I think because obviously it was a YouTube broadcast, and in the sidebar it was all the comments, and I think there were about 100 people who were on board for this. It was a great little chat group, and people were chatting. I think the companion described him as like an X-Files wiki, a human wiki for the X-Files. And he is, because I think, I mean, it's been 20 odd years. I mean, and he has probably gone on amongst all, maybe aside from Vince Gilligan, he's gone on to be probably the most prolific writer-producer since then of all of them, really. And the fact it's still so much there in his head is incredible, really. That it's all, he could just reel it off. He knows the episode name. He remembers the anecdote. He remembers the thought process. I think that's fantastic, really, given it's 20, 30 years ago.
But Robert, you have one of the great scenes. That's my favorite scene of all the scenes you did is in that episode.
Oh, really?
I don't know if you remember, but you walk into that episode is about you don't know if you're sleeping or you're awake.
Yeah.
And you walk into Skinner's office and you are so terrified because you don't know whether you're asleep or awake. And you play it so real. And I actually, TV Guide or somebody actually singled out that scene as like an extraordinary scene. And it was all your performance. Kim Manners called me from set and said, "Oh my God, you won't believe what we just shot with Robert. You've got to see this scene."
Oh, that's
you got to go back and watch that. It was fantastic.
That's so
Kick it
great.
in the ass.
Well, and it was his first job ever in television.
That's
Can
nuts.
you imagine? Amazing.
It's incredible. Well, the thing is, though, they've often talked, haven't they, about how it was like school. It was like film school. It was like, going to actually learn a craft. And that's why so many of them have gone on. And they mentioned Michelle McLaren, didn't they? And, And how she
talked about John Doe. So.
Yeah, John Doe. And last week she directed the Better Call Saul episode Nippy, which is an absolute masterpiece of television. A very recent. And she's done Game of Thrones and all this. And it's incredible, isn't it, to think that this is where they began, directing the Doggett Reyes stuff. Quite a lot of that.
Yeah, and Schnauz as well on Better Call Saul. So the fact that you've got those kind of late entries into 8 and 9 going onto shows like that, and and doing so well with them. And Michelle's episode last week of Better Call Saul was brilliant.
It was incredible,
yeah. So,
but I loved how they were talking about some of the stuff they'd done as well. Robert and Annabeth, like Annabeth doing the Peacemaker dance was worth admission alone. I tell you.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen that show?
No.
Oh man,
Just
you're
falling
missing
on
out.
deaf ears.
He's an absolute shit in that. Robert Patrick, he's brilliant. Like he plays a right bastard, and it's such a fun show. It really doesn't take itself seriously. You should watch it.
It was just really. I enjoyed that they were all just so excited for each other and what they've been doing these days. You know, Annabeth has been doing Midnight Mass and just completely rocking it, and they just are so genuinely excited.
Have you
to
seen
hear
Midnight
about
Mass,
what
Tony?
They were all.
I have. Yeah. No, you're right, Sarah. Though you're right. Yeah, they were very, very pleased for each other. Which is why when he mentions how good Midnight Mass is, it's really good because it is, and it's quite X-Filesy, isn't it? In a way, like it's very much sort of off that. You can imagine. Didn't someone put in one of the questions that was Mike Flanagan influenced by the X-Files who did Midnight Mass? I think there was a question like that because you can imagine those kind of people being influenced by this show, can't you? Mm-hmm. Really?
Well, Dana Scully's on the wall in one of the first episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So
is she?
Yeah.
Yeah, remember on the first couple of episodes, she's got a picture of Scully's on the wall.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I do remember that. Yeah, yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, no, it was really nice that they were very supportive of each other, and just I think I always because it was nice to hear Robert Patrick talking on these because doesn't feels like he doesn't. I mean, hopefully this will change. We've tried to get him on the Xcast a couple of times, and we've not really got past his agent, and I've very rarely heard him speak at length about the X-Files, really, in interviews. And I know he does cons and all that kind of thing, but I think it was nice to hear him particularly talking about this stuff with a real... Didn't he describe it at one point how it was like winning the lottery or something, like getting the X-Files job?
Yeah, it's like winning the Super Bowl. That's one of the few notes I actually made. Yeah. It's like winning the Super Bowl is a monumental shift in his career, is what he said.
Yeah.
So which is interesting itself that he hasn't done that many interviews about the show, but he does hold it, and even like sort of like towards the end of the interview, he was saying things like, "And I want to find my next Doggett. I want to find the Scorpion character is probably the closest he's been, but he wants to find that Doggett." And what I particularly liked through the recording as well, they started to talk when Frank was talking about the characterization and kind of the restraint that Chris Carter and Frank Spotnitz put on characters to, the show don't tell kind of aspect to it. And those little nuggets that were just crept in there, they just kind of like, they didn't go into any major detail, but those little peek behind the curtains I thought worked really well for me. And the question I asked as well that, hey, Lloyd didn't quite answer my question, but I still understood what he was getting at. And, just listening to like, how do you say, the kind of the feeling that Robert does like hold Doggett in such high regard as many of us do.
To this day, Doggett is probably my most favorite character I've ever played. And I've been dissecting this with some other showrunners and people that I'm talking to and developing ideas. And I keep going back to the fact that Doggett had such a great heart. He was unwavering. And to get to play that kind of role, especially when you've been introduced to the world as this, you're famous for being this AI intelligent robot kind of thing, that baggage. So I had that baggage of being a villain, and you've given me the opportunity to go completely the other way and be this big-hearted guy. And it was an honor.
Do you like crime stories, books, and people talking about those things? Then you should check out the Read and Buried podcast.
A murder? Oh.
I'm Frankie.
And I'm Sarah.
And in each episode, we pick a different theme and surprise and delight each other with a cheeky little review.
As you started reading it, I was like, this sounds like a romance novel. And then you got to monstrous crime.
Yay, there it is. That's what we're here for, isn't it?
We're also regularly visited by many talented and best-selling authors, including the likes of Chris Whitaker, Elizabeth Haynes, Emma Stonex, Fiona Cummins, and a whole lot more.
I obviously listened to the podcast, and I listened to you interviewing Chris Whitaker, and I thought, oh, hey, that sounds like a really good fun podcast.
If you like your crime books with a big side of silly, this is the podcast for you. Listen to the Read and Buried podcast right now, brought to you by the We Made This network.
Hi, I'm Frank Spotnitz. I produce The X-Files, and you're listening to the X-Cast.
I was just really glad to be there contributing to really the love of these characters, because I definitely, and I think we're all on, as much as I know, Sarah, you're not as big a fan of 8 and 9 as maybe some of us are, although I'm not a big fan of 9, but I like these two. I like these actors and I like the performances they give, even if I don't love all the stories. But I really feel the show could have gone on with them, you know, and the more time passes and the more we get into the way television has changed now, the more I think it could have survived. It would have been okay. And the fact then Frank says they had a whole load of stories mapped out, I was like, oh my God.
Devastating.
Yeah.
We need to know this.
Absolutely gut devastating.
Yeah.
To know that.
I think I put in the chat group, he has to write a book.
Yeah,
you know, just
please,
about the missed opportunities or something along those lines of like, these were some of the ideas that we had, and the X-Files, what could have been kind of thing, because the amount of ideas that they would have had, and the concept of like, oh well, we had this idea for Doggett and Reyes being in the film, and you know, it was Mulder and Scully were on the run, but Doggett and Reyes were in the FBI, and just having all those that kind of world building aspect to bring into a film would be amazing.
Yeah, and to hear the plans that they had in their head for how it was gonna go, and to know they all kind of thought that all the legal stuff was going to not last very long, and it was going to be over quick, and they were going to get through it and do some movies and, you know, usher in this next sort of version of the show, I guess, or these characters.
Yeah.
And then the fact that it just didn't get to happen and the reasons and all that was just...
Yeah. Ugh. And I think we talked in the Zoom call, because the X-Cast were on a recording afterwards, which people will be able to hear, and it's very funny because it's a drunk commentary.
Especially for patrons, only patrons.
Especially for patrons, yeah. But this wasn't on the recording. But we were just talking in general on the call about if they just waited that little bit longer so that the lawsuit did actually finish and they could get onto it, or or if things were just wrapped up a bit quicker, just how different it would have been, and we're talking maybe months, that's made a massive change to the show.
And we could have continued the show, but we felt like we're doing great work, but it's not landing because there's the mood, the atmosphere is not open to this right now. And the other part I know you don't know, because I was never allowed to say this to you, is that the movie studio wanted to continue the movies.
Wow.
And so our plan was, and the reason there's this episode, William, where Scully gives up her child for adoption, was to end the series. Mulder and Scully are fugitive. Doggett and Reyes are at the FBI with Skinner. And there's a movie franchise. That was our plan. So we didn't think we were saying goodbye to you when the show ended. And then what happened was there was a legal dispute between Chris and Fox that I thought was going to be over in weeks or months. And it went on for 5 years. And when it finally ended, they didn't want the alien mythology. They wanted a little small budget movie that was just a standalone. And that was the end of. But we had worked on storylines involving Doggett and Reyes and Mulder and Scully, and that's what we thought we were going to do when the show ended.
I also found it really interesting when Frank was talking about how 9/11 changed the show and changed the direction, and after 9/11, which happened very early on in production of season 9, the wind changed. And I've read things like this before, and about how that affected a lot of TV shows at the time. So to hear that and how that was another factor potentially, again, it just feels like a whole world of missed opportunities, And,
yeah.
And did you guys get the sense as well that Annabeth doesn't love the direction that Reyes went in? Because there was a little
we
comment.
talked about that. No,
Have you?
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. You know all the secrets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a definite hint of that in this, wasn't there? Really, I think it might be when the question came up of Morley cigarettes, in the show.
Yeah, it was that, and where would they be now? And it was kind of like, what, forget 10 and 11, and Gish would be, her character would be in the FBI, and she would have to call Doggett back, which itself would be an interesting thing, but but then somebody came up with the chat, and then it made me think. Talking about the chat, somebody mentioned, it was clone Monica. And I was like, right, that fits in with my season 5 cigarette smoking man clone. So I'm going to go with clone Monica.
Yeah. Would explain a lot, wouldn't it, really, to be honest?
It would.
Yeah.
It would.
Yeah.
Have you got any other takeaways, guys, about what they were talking about? Anything else you want to mention?
I really liked a comment that Robert Patrick made about David and Gillian when he said, well, that's lightning in a bottle, you don't get that twice. I thought that was really nice for him to say that. Because obviously it is the Mulder and Scully is the X-Files, and he's part of that show, and he's, and they're both part of that show, and they both are an important part, but they know where they've come from, and the fact that he said that I thought was really good. There was a bit about, and this falls to me in the Frank Black thing with, I think one of the things was about Adam Chamberlain, and mentioned about Millennium, and
it was great.
Robert
but
had said
Frank knew Adam as well and remembered Adam, and that was nice.
Yeah,
that was a nice moment.
Yeah, it was really nice. But the idea that Frank Black, Chris Carter had told Lance Henriksen to put his arms down and keep them straight during the first season of Millennium. And in this one, it seems to be that Annabeth Gish was told not to wear belts. Yeah. I was like, okay.
Bizarre,
of all the things.
Lance is a huge friend of mine. I mean, I love Lance. I go out and visit him all the time. I see him, and I love Lance. And my history with Lance goes all the way back to 1989, 1990. I've got great stories about Lance. I would give anything to have figured out how to do that.
Adam is a great writer, editor, filmmaker, supporter of Millennium, along with Troy Foreman, and made a great documentary about Millennium. But he'll know better than anybody the difficulty we had trying to merge Millennium with the X-Files, because we thought, well, no sweat, we'll just bring in Lance to the show. And then we realized they're completely different mythologies, completely different way of storytelling, and it was really tough. But the idea of seeing Lance and Annabeth and Robert act together, that's very exciting. And
I think Frank Spotnitz talking about Via Negativa as well. The fact that he was it's one of his favourite moments of the show.
Good. Yeah, I can understand why, to be fair. What about you, Sarah? Anything else you thought of you want to take away?
Yeah, I did really enjoy hearing Frank talk a little bit about the process and the writing, and he said something along the, I can't quote it directly, but he said something along the lines of how when he was writing the episodes, he tried to not put the emotion in the writing because the actors were so good that they put the emotion in themselves, to not put it down on the page, but let them infuse the words with their own acting skills, and to just let them do what they were so talented at doing,
Yeah. That was what my question was about John Doe, when he falls apart, when he realises his son's died and he has to relive that again, and how does he approach that as an actor? And he kind of went off on a different tangent to a degree, but but when on coming round to it, I think he started talking about Sunshine Days somehow, and then but the kind of idea was that he's very much an actor who deals with the moment, and that goes on to what Sarah was saying there, that it seems to be that he's got an idea, he does all his homework. He mentioned about he came in prepared for the season, but then when it comes to the moment, he doesn't want to particularly lose that moment. He wants to live it right there and then. And I thought that for me answered my question in a roundabout way, which I thought was good.
Yeah, there were some good questions actually. I thought I thought it was a good mixture of things. And I know there were tons of them, so they couldn't get to all of them. I think they need another hour and a half really to get through all of them. But it just shows it just shows the thirst, doesn't it, from a lot of people to actually have this. I think people would happily have like the Doggett and Reyes sessions and have like a whole season of this, where you get Q&As and that kind of thing.
Wouldn't that be fun to just go through their episodes? The Doggett and Reyes sessions and just, go through that with them. That would be fun.
They ought to do...
Podcast idea.
Well, you're getting people like Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum are doing a Smallville one where they go through each episode. And you've got the Delta Flyers, which is Robert Duncan McNeil and Garrett Wang from Star Trek Voyager doing all of those. So yeah, they should totally do like the Doggett and Reyes seasons, the X-Files. It would take them that long. It's only like about 30 episodes. Easy, you know. Maybe we'll have to suggest it to them. Like, tell Annabeth, Sarah, when you speak to them, and put the idea out there. But yeah, it was really good. It was a great conversation. If you're listening to this and you haven't heard it, the reason you might not have heard it is because the Companion is a subscription service, basically. But it was a live broadcast, but it is going to be available to people on the Companion. The video, not just the audio, but the video, it's going to be available to members within the week. You will have heard some clips that we've been playing throughout this podcast to sort of back up some of the things we've been talking about, because the Companion have very kindly shared that with us. But if you want to listen to this, you can sign up at thecompanion.app/Doggett and Reyes / and you can get a free trial of the Companion if you sign up there. And if you decide it's not for you, you can cancel. That's okay, you know. But if you pay and you get membership, which means no ads, you're not chasing any clicks, you just get really good writing, and you get events that reflect all kinds of diverse voices and perspectives within fandom. Not just the X-Files, but loads of other things like Stargate, Star Trek, things like this. So if you want to hear this, you can sign up, see if it's for you, at thecompanion.app /Doggett and Reyes / and see what you think. Because there's some really good writing on there. And I'm not just saying that because I've done some of it, like genuinely, because I am writing for them quite regularly now. I'm doing a series called The Politics of the X-Files, where I'm going through different episodes, and I've looked at like 50s communism in Travelers and things like climate change in Darkness Falls and things like that. That's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying that. I did a piece on Doggett's first episode and his introduction in Within. I did a piece on Reyes's episode, This Is Not Happening. But there was also a really great Reyes piece as well by a writer called Alana Reid recently, called The Case for Monica Reyes, Uplifting Woman of TV. Really, really good piece that is available if you subscribe. I think Annabeth read that, Sarah, didn't she? I believe. Yeah. And that had a really good reception. So I can only encourage people to subscribe to this, because it's worth a very small amount of money every month. And they're gonna hope. I mean, I can't speak for them. I'm not a member of their staff, but I am pretty confident from the people I know who are involved that they want to do more stuff like this. So if you get involved and you support them in terms of the financial side, they'll have the resources to do that. And I mean, we need that for the X-Files, don't we?
Well, I will say it is absolutely worth the nominal fee just to see Annabeth do that dance.
Yeah. It really is.
So definitely check that out. And there
forget the writing. Forget the writing. Yeah. Just for the dance. That's worth $5.99 at least, even if you just do 1 month. Yeah, exactly. You know. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it's really good. I encourage you to give it a try, guys. And this has been a lot of fun, just unpicking some of this. So thanks to the Companion for giving us some of those clips as well, and for hosting this event. It was great. And let's hope we get another one. And we're obviously doing season 8, aren't we? So we're now, I think, as this airs, we've got This Is Not Happening coverage hitting the airwaves within days. Yeah, and that's Kurt, with Darren Mooney. Isn't it? Yeah. So, like, Reyes is imminent on the X-Cast.
Right. And we've got Annabeth coming up.
And we do talk about that cigarette as well, isn't it?
Oh, so that's good. Yeah, we've got a double Annabeth interview, haven't we? We've got one that patrons heard in 2020, and then you did an update, Sarah, didn't you?
We did.
Yeah.
We caught up with her, just a little bonus, about 25 minutes, talking about what she's been up to the past 2 years. And there's some really fun stuff in there. So if you're not a patron, you should be a patron. But if you get to hear it now. So it was really fun to talk to her.
Yeah, so. It's great. That's online now for patrons, and then it will be going live in about a week's time. And then you've got Empedocles, Sarah. You did Empedocles, didn't you? That's the other Reyes one in season 8. So before the finale. So that's coming up as well.
We did that with Cortlan and JJ.
JJ Lendl, yeah.
Correct.
I was going to say JJ Abrams.
JP Lindell. Yeah.
Well, he's not doing much else, so you might as well come on.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. There's some really, really good insights and some really good laughs. We had a good time with that one.
Yeah, I can't wait. I haven't heard that yet, so I can't wait to listen to that. That's going to be brilliant. And then obviously Reyes will be around much more, as well as Doggett. So we're in... are you guys enjoying doing Season 8? Because it's really fun to listen to, mostly as a listener, I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely loving it. Yeah, it's been great. And it's been great to... throw a little bit of jest towards Sarah. It's been great to have that as an added layer into the podcast.
I wanted to ask, after the Ice and Roadrunners drinking episode, exclusive for patrons, commentary, Sarah, because I think Carl said to me the other day, if Sarah doesn't love Roadrunners after she gets drunk, nothing's going to make her change her mind.
No.
So after getting drunk, do you like it more now?
We're still at a 4.
Oh man!
But no,
the commentary's at 11 though, isn't it? The commentary was at 11.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was fun. I think I won't spoil it all, but one of the things that Cathy had on the list when we got into in Ice, we had plenty, and then in Roadrunners there was a scene that just put us on the floor basically. So yeah,
can't wait. That's gonna drop in. I think at some point in August. I think that's coming out.
Yeah.
Or,
I better get editing then.
Yeah, I think I might be wrong. It might be later than that, but yeah, we'll figure it out. But it'll be coming soon anyway, so that'll be fun as well. So lots to look forward to. But cheers, guys. Anyway, for popping on and talking about this. Another quick reminder to everybody: the companion.app /Doggett and Reyes / check it out. But yeah. It's been great, guys. It's been nice to talk to you. I'm not on very much now, so it's really nice to just jump on and have a little chat. So so cheers.
We miss you, Tony.
Oh,
we do.
Thanks.
I mean, we see you on other things, but we miss you as this kind of in this environment.
Well, it's Season 8, and if I'm the smoking man of the X-Files now, he's not in it, is he? So I've just got to stay lurking in the shadows. But yeah, I'll be back.
We'll put an X on the window, and we want you to show up.
Well, I'm back for VNN, which is quite fun. Me and Carl talking about exploding oil rigs and shit like that. So that'd be good.
Good time.
But yeah, well, take care then, guys. I'll speak to you both soon. And thanks, everyone, for listening and for indulging us. And until next time, remember, trust no one. Hi folks, this is Tony Black, co-host and producer of Between the Notes, a podcast all about the music of film and television. Myself and co-host Sean Wilson delve into a range of topics including brand new film score releases.
So four notes can communicate the primal vengeance and rage of Robert Pattinson's interpretation of
yeah, I've heard that a couple of times.
Batman, yeah.
Focuses on specific composers such as Ennio Morricone.
Just to put this in context, Gwyneth Paltrow got an Oscar before Ennio Morricone did. I mean, how does that... How does that work?
And special episodes focusing on topics like adventure movie scores.
I think that principle is consistent all the way through Conan because it has to be, because it is an opera in which the music is the dialogue.
We're available on all podcast platforms and on social media at Between Notes Pod on Twitter and Facebook. So please subscribe, get in touch, and join us to discuss the sounds of cinema and television between the notes. The X-Cast, an X-Files podcast, was created by Tony Black and is produced and hosted by Carl Sweeney, Sarah Blair and Kurt North.
You can find the podcast on Twitter at the X_cast, on Facebook by typing in the X-Cast, and in our group, X-Files Basement, the X-Cast podcast fan group, and on Instagram at the X-Cast pod.
Don't forget, you can support the show by becoming a member on Patreon. Our patrons get early access to episodes, behind-the-scenes chats with our hosts and a thriving community of X-Files, and other premium interviews and specials. To find out more and subscribe, you can go to patreon.com/thexcast. That's patreon.com/thexcast.
We are also part of the We Made This podcast network, full of popular culture shows, including our Millennium series, The Time Is Now. You can find all of our shows at our website, wemadethispod.com,
or via Twitter @WeMadeThisPod.
Thanks for listening and keep watching the skies.